Okay, this video we are doing the first session about sockets. We're doing the exercises. I'll start with exercise 1. The idea is that we create a simple server and client, and the client will send a string, and the server will return that string changed to uppercase. So that's where we start, and I will go here and I will create an exercise 1. And we create a server class, server, and I will just create a main method, PSVM, and this should initially create a server socket. I call it welcome socket equals new server socket, and I give it a port number, and according to my slides I'm using 2910. That's probably a fine port number. We will surround everything with a try-catch. Okay, we say welcome socket dot accept, and this will return a socket whenever a client accepts. A client attempts to connect to the server, and when that succeeds, the accept method here will finish and a socket will be returned. I can then create a object input stream. I call it in from client. It's a new input stream, and I give it the input stream from the socket. I will also create an object output stream, out to client, new object output stream, socket, get output stream. Okay, at first we will read a string. I call it message from the client. We say in from client, read object, and you'll see it's complaining because I need to handle a class not found exception. Maybe the client sends something and the server doesn't know about that type of class. That can happen, so we will add a catch clause, and I will just collapse them so it's more neat. Okay, so the message here, I changed that to be to uppercase, and then let's just print stuff out. Received message, sending message, and up here we'll say server started, and we will say, so we can see what's going on, client connected. Okay, and I use out to client to send an object back to the client, and I will write an object. I will write my message, which is now in our case, and we say client disconnected. Okay, so this is my server. I get the socket, which is my connection to the client. I create my object input and output stream so I can send and receive objects. I read an object from the client. I change that. I know it's a string. I change it to be uppercase, and I send that back to the client, and that is the job of the server. So now we create a client, and the client will have a main method, and we say socket is equal to new socket, and 2910 I believe is the port here, and we will see that it takes a string host and an int port, so I will give it a local host because I'm running it on my own computer, and we need to handle exceptions. I surround everything with a try catch. Okay, so now I have a socket at this point here that is connected to the server. I can create my object input and output streams. I'll just do the same here. copy this. Okay, and then I will use the. Oh, now there's a bit of a detail here that they must be. Usually, you have to create them in reverse order. So if on the server I say I want the input stream and then the output stream, then on the client side I need to switch these, so I will create the output stream first. So these streams here, the input stream and the output stream here, they're connected, and the program is sort of stuck if you're trying to create one of them, but on the other end you don't create the other one. So we're just creating them in reverse order. If your program is ever stuck around these lines of code, you may want to switch the order of instantiation. I want to send a message to the server. This one is now called out to server, and this one is called in from server. So we say out to server, write object, and I want to write hello in lowercase, and then we read in from server, read object. We expect that we get a string to back again, and I say string response is equal to this. And again, from when we read object, I have to take care of the class not found exception. I will just collapse these, and then I print out the response. I should get an uppercase hello back. So let me run the server. Everything's compiling, the server is started. I will run a client, and the client prints out uppercase hello, so that's just wonderful. Now the next part is to change it so the client accepts input from the user by reading from the keyboard. So you may have noticed this at the beginning. I was just testing how it works. So for the client, instead of writing hello, I create a scanner so I can read from the keyboard. And next, this is my message, and I want to send the message here. And I start my server again. Server started. I start my client, and I can write something. Guten Tag. And the server will return an uppercase Guten Tag, and both programs have now terminated. Okay, so that was exercise 1. In this one, the second one, use exercise 1 with the input from the user. First connect one client, then connect another, then a third. What happens? All clients now waiting for the... Okay, so let me just... We go here, I say write message to server. So when I run this, it will look like this. I run the server, I run the client, and I get a message, and we say blah blah, and it's returned again. Okay. So we want to make sure that the server doesn't terminate. So we say, I put this in a while loop, while true, and all the way down here. There we go. So as client will connect, we will receive a string, make it to uppercase, return it, and then that client is handled, and we start over again, all the way up to while true, we accept a new client, and so on. So I will start my server. Then I will start a client. And it's waiting for me to write a message to the server. I will start another client. I have now 2 clients running, and you can see the first one printed this one out, but the second one has not printed anything out. It's still trying to connect here, but the server is currently waiting down here, it accepted the first client here, and now it's waiting for the first client to receive something, and the second client is waiting to be accepted. So the clients are blocking for each other here. The server is currently executing this piece of code, and the second client is waiting for this piece of code to be executed. So let's see what happens. If I write a message here and press enter, it will be sent to the server. The server will write it back. It will then start over, and it will accept the second client, and then the second client will write out write message to server. So we say here first message. Apparently you cannot put a space. I don't know. But now you see the second client is ready for writing it. For me writing stuff here. Writing stuff. And sprint out. And my server is just waiting for the next client to connect. I can start a new client. And I can write something. And it's back again. And I will stop the server here. So as mentioned in the slides, you will see that this line of code will sort of block the program, and this line of code will also sort of block the program. And later on we will see how to fix this problem using multi-threading, because currently we can only serve one client at a time. There's a kind of queue system in place. They have to wait for the other client to finish, but we can fix this, which you will see later on. Okay, so this was exercise 1 and 2. In 3, you're going to implement a simple protocol. You should still accept user input. How can I help? You can then either write uppercase or lowercase in single argument. You will write your string, and based on your first selection, you get an argument. Okay, let's start with this part. So I remove this. I create a package. Exercise 3. I create a server. I create a client. To my server here, I will create a server socket. I call it welcome socket, and 2910 is the port. We surround with the try catch, and I have a while true. I will first create an object input stream in. Use the nope. That's not what I want yet. First I need the actual socket, so we say welcome socket, accept, and here we get a socket. Sort of socket. And from the socket I get the input stream. I create an object output stream, out, new. I get from the socket the output stream. Okay, so now we can communicate with the client. And first we will say, what was it? The server should send, how can I help? Okay, so out, write object, how can I help? Then we get a response back, and we say in, read object, and this is I add the exceptions again. Where do we have it? Add catch clause. Yeah. And I know that I'm going to receive a string, and we say request, and I say string. So we say if request, it should be uppercase. So uppercase. I just do like this, uppercase equals request. Then I need to do something else if lowercase equals request, then I need to do something else. Or if stop was sent, then we need to stop. And finally, if neither of these, then we don't understand. So this is my protocol. If I receive something, then we say uppercase. The server will respond argument. So out, write object, argument. Then we will read the argument, read object. I'll just take this line here, arg, and I say received arg, so we can follow along and see what's happening. And then I will write out write object arg to uppercase. We will do something similar down here in the lowercase, still argument, and now it's just to lowercase. And down here, if we say stop, then we break. Otherwise, we I don't know. We close the program. Yeah, let's just break. Also, if we don't understand what is received. So in this case, I am only handling. Oh, that's okay. We're still handling one client at a time. So let us do the client part. I will create a socket equals new socket. It will be connecting to local host on 29.9. That's the port number. I surround with a try catch. We say I need my streams here, and I remember to revert them. So the out is created first in the client side and the in is created first in the server side. And according to the protocol, the server should first write how can I help. So we will first read something in.read object, and I will just say print this, whatever you're reading. And I need to fix the add catch clause. I will collapse them. And then I can either write uppercase or lowercase. So I need a scanner again here. I will just steal this. Scan and the message, I write that back out. Write message. Okay, so that was the uppercase or lowercase. The server will then respond with argument. So I need to read something in read object. I will just print this out. And there we go. And then I need to string arg scan next. And then we send this back out. write object, arg, and then when I have sent the argument, we will get that back from the server. So we do the same thing again here. Okay. If at some point when I write the arg here, if I say if stop equals argument, then I just return. When you return in a void method, that just means we don't do anything further. So this will shut down the client. Okay, so I should be able to get the end result back and print it out. So just to play around with it a little bit more, we might do like this, while true, and put this inside. We'll see how that goes. And I do the same thing for the server, so the server will just help us over and over. We'll break out this one and then accept a new one. That's probably okay. Let's see what happens. I will run my server program. We will just say server started and client connected, and we run the program. And I don't need this anymore, need that anymore, and we will run a client program. So the server now says client connected, how can I help? And I want to say uppercase argument hello, sort of, and everything is to uppercase, and it asks how can I help again, and this time around I say lowercase, and we'll ask for an argument, and we say hello, and how can I help, and I want to say stop. It's when I do the argument that it should say stop. So what does my servers do? Doesn't do anything. Stop wasn't recognized. Breaks out of the loop. Well, it mostly works. It's good enough for me. I'm satisfied. We have other exercises to do. I will do the fourth one. No, that's also just a communication back and forth. Okay, the fifth one should be quick. So, exercise 5. I'll create a server class. And I will just close the tabs we have down here. Close this one and close the client and the server. I will have a server socket. Welcome, socket 2910. Surround with try catch. Welcome socket accept. That creates a socket. I need to create the just steal this part. There we go. And then so first we send one integer, then another integer, and then we calculate and send it back. So it's just another protocol we create here, another order of how things are sent back and forth. We say in read int, that will return an int I1, and I'm sending 2, so we create another one and we say I2, and then int result is equal to I1 plus I2, and then we use the out to write this one, result, and well, that's more or less it. So on the client side, which was not this one, I will need these. Client side. Nope, sorry, that's exercise 3. I am confusing myself. We need a client class. Client. I will create a main method. A circuit, yes, that one, new circuit, localhost 2910, surround with try catch, create my streams, we reverse the order. We say first, so I need the scanner thing again, and I will just copy this, read, here we have it, scanner, and alright. So first what can I read here? Next int, I can read an integer, and that will return int I1, and then I want another integer, I2, and then we send this out, write I1, and then we will write I2, and now we will read an integer, result, and I will just print out the result. And we'll do like this, result. There we go. Okay, so let's see how it went, if anything is working. So the server is running. I will start my client. It's receiving something. I will say 13 and 15 and so not exactly as expected. Connection reset. Try to read an integer. And what am I sending? I'm writing an integer. Let's try again. Well, maybe I should print something out. Okay. Oh yeah. So we'll just say received I1, received I2, result, and let's try again. So we start with 3, and my server doesn't write anything. So maybe the read int nope. Yeah, maybe that doesn't really work as expected. Write object. What if I just write string? Next. Okay, write an object. This here will be a string. And I do like this, and we write object. And I read a string. I'll just do like this. Okay, so now we're working with the strings on the client side, and here we will also say, this is a bit inconvenient, read object, and that means I need to add a catch clause, and down here also a string object, and I need to cast it. And down here we will say integer value of I1 plus integer value of I2. So I'm converting my string to an integer, and I write object, and we will say I'm just converting my result to a string. So not really a very nice way of doing it, but let's see if something changed. I will start my server. It's compiling server, and we start the client. The server is still good. I say 3. Server received 3. I say 7. And the result is -1. Now, how did that work out? The result was okay on the server side. It was 10. We will say string to send is equal to so we should send a string with the value of 10 to the client, and the client will read it. Oh, so that wasn't the problem. I will read an object. It was trying to read an integer, but it got a string instead, so I can understand why it would complain. And we will try again here. Run the server, run the client. 11 plus 15, and I get the correct results, and everything is wonderful. That took a bit of time. So I don't really have a group. I'm sure you can handle this. Trying to make something work across 2 computers, not really interesting for my video. I can do this one. System where the client and the server can talk back and forth, a tiny, simple, boring chat system. And we will say exercise 7, 8. I will create a server. Here we go, server. I will create a client. At some point I should probably name it something else than just server or client, because I have a bunch of those. So the server will have a server socket. I will just call it welcome socket, as I always do, to be consistent. New server socket, port 2910, surround with try catch. Okay, welcome socket, accept, and I will just handle one client, and this will create a socket, and I have my object input stream in socket. There we go, object output stream. output stream out circuit. There we go. And while true, we want them to talk to each other back and forth. So first the client will write. So the server should say, I want to read object, and I need to add a catch clause. That object may not be existing on the server side. And then we say, I need a keyboard scanner. Again, I will steal it here. So I will create it outside. So the scanner is created outside. I want to create a new one every time. So we print this out, and then I say, write your response. And I get this one, and I send that to the client out. Write object message, and I guess then we start over. Okay, I will copy these. I'm going to need these. So in the client, main method, socket, new socket, localhost 2910, surround with try catch, and I will create these guys. I will reverse the order of them, and then we will have a while true. I will create this one. And now we say, so I expect that the client is sending an object first because or message first because the server here is reading that object. So we will say, write your message. Oh, and scan dot next. I will send this to the server, and then I will expect a response back in read object, and I need to add a catch clause. And I think that should be it. Maybe, yeah, that's probably okay. So I will just close these, close, and run the server. And it's waiting for a client. So I will run a client. Write your message, hello server. And so again, I have the space thing. Don't know enough about the scanner. Doesn't really matter. I'm sure that's an easy fix. Hello client, we'll just camel case our way through. So write the response, hello server. Oh, so that's because I do read a message, but it was sent in two objects instead of one, so I get the hello and then the server. So now they're both writing stuff. That's a bit confusing. Hello again. We'll see what happens. And I do receive that on the client side. And I don't know, hello back. It's a very interesting conversation, this thing. Hello back, write response. This is my clever response. Bam. The client says, yes, that was totally clever. And the server can see that, and fantastic, everyone is chatting back and forth, having meaningful and deep conversations about interesting stuff. Okay, I think that is enough for now. I'll stop the video.